I bought these sounds at the beginning of the year, I think, and they've made it onto practically every track I've written this year. They are beautiful, they are enchanting, they're just wonderful sounds, and I want to share them with you. Hey, my name is Steve, composer, engineer, and lecturer. Welcome back to the channel. I have a huge collection of software. It's probably a little bit of a problem, but I always believe that software is a massive investment, at least from a virtual instruments or sample library point of view. But I want to start sharing some of the sample libraries I've collected over the years and my favorite sounds that I use all the time. Most reviews are sort of deep dives into menus and buttons and switches and everything that they can do. I don't want that to be this one. I just want to show you real examples of what these instruments could sound like and some of the projects I've actually used them in, hopefully to give you an idea of what it could really do for you. Firstly, this is, no paid promotions. I'd love to say that I'm getting paid for this, but I'm definitely not. It's just my humble opinion of these libraries and what they can do. Evolution Sounds is a wonderful sampling company. They produce really intimate, evocative sample libraries, and I feel like they really capitalize on the performer and the performance that they're capturing. They're not just grabbing every sound that this instrument can make like some sample libraries do. They're actually trying to capture an experience and a mood and a moment in time. They have a huge collection of non-Western instruments, and that's actually one of the reasons I went looking for them. But as it turned out, Native Instruments had a massive sale on them, so I bought a few of their collections at the beginning of this year. There is actually one particular sample that really sold it to me, and I'll be excited to share that with you in a moment. All right, let's dive into the door here. So I just have a blank session open up here, and I've got a few of their instruments loaded up. This one is the Bode Cello. It's a wonderful texture and a really evocative mood. And it's something that I've used quite a lot in a lot of tracks this year. Just have a listen to this. This library is fantastic because it's not just capturing single notes of sustain, it's capturing a performance. These beautiful, wonderful sounds, and that rebowing is just a beautiful performance. The way this sort of works is there is a separate articulation being triggered based on the velocity, and I've got 3 different layers, and they're each triggered by different velocity ranges. So anything below 80 is triggering this swell emotional, and then anything between 80 and 110, we're looking at the sustained random bow vibrato. And then anything louder, we're actually looking at the same sample library. But if I wanted a third different texture, I could choose something different from this. Anything in particular. It doesn't really matter. I can combine and create my own sort of sound entirely. Maybe if I select this one, for example. Now if I hit a particular note softly, I get my first sample. A little bit louder, we get the random bow vibrato. And the loudest, we're going to get this random bow to trem sound. It's so beautiful. It's fantastic. It's just a wonderful performance that is being captured in this moment, and I can play it back at any time. It's fantastic. Sometimes sample libraries, they just don't cross that bridge and they don't feel realistic because we're just triggering back individual notes at a time. But this feels like I'm really triggering a performance. It's like I'm talking to the performer and evoking something out of that performer to record. It's like I'm collaborating with them. It's wonderful. Here's another one again, the violin this time, another beautiful sound, and I often combine these two together with the cello and the violin. Right now I'm just playing in the key of C, and I don't think I've ever heard the key of C just sound so beautiful. Often it just sounds really cheesy because so many people use it, and music theory exams are always in it, and music theory examples are always in it. But here is a wonderful instrument, and it doesn't matter what key it's playing in, it just sounds gorgeous. Another fantastic example here, the bawu, beautiful instrument that I use as a solo instrument in one of my tracks. Wonderful textures. We can actually see here as well, there's the option for legato. If I turn this one on, it means that it's like a legato passage. That way, when I'm playing one note to the next, it's gonna move in like a kind of, as if one player is playing it rather than two players. If I had that legato off, I could actually trigger multiple notes at a time, have a bawu ensemble. But in this case, I actually want it to be like it's one performer. Absolutely gorgeous, just inspiring, wonderful. Every note that I play, I feel like it's just dripping with just emotion and fantasticness. Again, it's this idea of three different samples, so we can combine and stack different things. So we've got this swell, and then we've got this ornament, and then this gliss random. This is what I was talking about capturing performances. It's not just a simple, okay, play A, then play B, then play C, and so on, and then play it short A, short B, short C. They've gone in and they've actually captured different articulations that the player themselves would add in as ornamentation to their own playing and their own soloing. So we have this swell short vibrato. Sounds wonderful. And then there's ornament too. Again, just adding in something special that the player would have done in the moment. And this gliss is just wonderful. It's irregular as well. It's not like it's just one repeated thing and then they've looped that audio file. They've really captured a wonderful detailed performance and are then allowing you to kind of trigger that as part of your playing. Sometimes I don't really know with these libraries, is it me that's playing it or are they actually sort of playing me in a way? That sounds way more philosophical than it actually is meant. What I mean is it's almost like it's influencing the way I play and I'm wanting to lean into the way it's been sampled and those performances that have been captured. Wonderful. The DZ here as well, again, a wonderful example of one of the libraries that is in the colors range. A really gorgeous sound, just wonderful collection of inspiring sounds. Often I feel like in particularly film score music, we search for different instruments and non-Western instruments because we want to kind of capture a new texture or a new sound that might evoke something a little bit different and unexpected. A lot of the time that's desired with film, you want some originality to it. And a lot of people are trying to push the boat and do something new and creative. But I think what's really important is that we pay respect to the culture and the heritage of that instrument. And that's something that Evolution series does really well because they sample actual performers of these instruments in a really beautiful way that captures the detail of the performance, a performance that you would have normally heard on that instrument, not something forced to sound like a Western instrument. And that's what I think is really beautiful about these libraries, is that they capture not just the instrument, but the whole vibe and energy that actually has. Another beautiful instrument, the erhu. Gorgeous string instrument from China, obviously. Fantastic sound, just at your fingertips. Again, a performer that's ready to deliver this amazing texture at a moment's notice. However, as I said, there was one instrument that above all just captured my imagination when listening to the examples when this was coming up for sale with Native Instruments. That is this instrument, which is actually a voice. It's the Vocal Colors Bronte. And it's a beautiful sound, a beautiful instrument. Now, if I just load up the default patch here, we can see that it's got in ha's. But you can choose from a lot of different sounds. There's ha's, there's ta's, there's oohs, all sorts of sounds that you can pick from, which is fantastic because you can get a really different sound from just a simple click of a button. It's wonderful because it means that you can also program maybe different syllables to different ranges. So you could have a soft ha, a medium oo, and a loud er. Let's just have a listen to this really quickly. I'm going to turn on the legato again. Really beautiful. I mean, it does sound just so inspiring to be able to play it. I've often layered this one just into different sessions because that beautiful airy vocal in the background can sometimes just really breathe something else into it. What I really love though are these ad libs. If I'm just going to pop, in fact, all of these as ad libs for a moment, and I'm just going to play these. What they basically do is they have a different vocal phrase or articulation in each key that you press. Just so beautiful, so inspiring, wonderful texture. Honestly, I think this really did just sell it to me. This sound alone was fantastic. But all of these instruments together, they constitute a fantastic collection of inspiring sounds from sounds around the world, not just the ones that we're used to hearing possibly. Played by real performers who know the instrument and are delivering a beautiful performance to be captured by these samplists at Evolution Series. Honestly, hats off, wonderful library, love it so much, I just had to share it. So what I want to do now is just share a couple of examples where I've used this. Not too many, just a few tracks that I've written this year that make use of these instruments in what I feel is a really wonderful way that I wouldn't have been able to achieve with any other sample library. As a quick side note as well, one thing that I often do is at the end of a composition, I export all of my tracks as audio files and then mix them. The reason I do this is just to offload some weight from my CPU. It gets a bit tired after all these heavy sample libraries. Doesn't mean you have to do it, but why I'm saying that is because when you look at these sessions, they'll all be audio files. You won't see any virtual instruments, but they all came from my sample libraries, some of which were the ones I just showed you. All right, so the first track that I want to share with you is the demo track that I made for my sample library, Kaleidosky. It's actually a free one that's linked down below and available now on Piano Book for free, which is fantastic. I love the Piano Book website, and it's an amazing resource for composers that are just starting out, or composers seeking an interesting and unique sound, or people that want to contribute sample libraries, which is what I love it for. Along with this sort of Kaleidosky library, which is this guitar swarms, delays type library, it created quite an airy, beautiful kind of landscape picture in my mind. The Bawu and the Bronte voice from the Colors collection just really well suited this particular track. And I use them both for the melody parts. The Bawu more as the melody, the voice more as this backing texture, sweeping in and sweeping out. Let's have a quick listen. So you'll be able to see the Bawu, the voice, and actually the shakuhachi from Evolution Series as well. Different library though, but that's actually playing a role in here too. Really wonderful, beautiful sound, and I was just so captivated by it when creating this song. Also down below in the description is a SoundCloud link for all of my tracks if you want to check them out afterwards. Okay, the next track I like to share with you is kind of one of my favorites that I've created so far. It's a piece called Legends, and again you can find it on SoundCloud. But basically this was a bit of an action adventure one, and it had a violin lead, but I was able to use some of these Colors instruments to sort of weave in a little bit of extra texture. For example, the shakuhachi and voice are back and they are playing a sort of background role while this main viola sound is going on. The solo violin joins, and then actually the DZ joins along with it to create a new texture. What I love about this is it's using a different sort of texture and instrument, combining it together to create a new type of sound, stacking it. Very sort of common to orchestral or even just music in general, this idea of combining textures so it strengthens the lead sound. But rather than just using a flute, using the DZ was just a beautiful way of capturing a unique performance and a combination of tones that I haven't had before. If I just solo the soloist here for a moment and basically have a listen to what all of them are doing. Really beautiful layers in there that, you know, the violin and the viola would have done a lovely job, but with these extra layers created a new unique sort of atmosphere that was just really wonderful. Something that I just really loved the sound of. I really fell in love with this one. If we have a listen to the end, I feel like the voice and the shakuhachi really play a big deal into this. We're just coming out of an intense, more guitar part led section, going back into the theme reoccurring before a big finish. And let's have a quick listen to how the voice and the shakuhachi kind of support this role a little bit. Really simple, very subtle, just in the background there, creating a unique flavor that it just enhances it somewhat. It creates a sense of space, a sense of depth that I was missing before. Okay, the last one that I want to show you is what I started off with, the violins and the cellos. Such a beautiful sound, and that evocative, you know, bowing and rebowing of the sound is a wonderful performance that's been captured there. And I want to be able to leverage that, and I do quite a bit. That wonderful performance kind of creates its own atmosphere that I then springboard ideas off. This particular piece starts with those leading in the track and evolves over time in a very textural way. I'm just going to play the beginning part into the sort of peak and let you hear the role that that cello and that violin are playing for this piece. I just feel like it creates such a wonderful emotion all on its own because the performance has been captured so well. I feel like this piece almost fell out of my fingertips as I was playing it because it created such inspiration. And that's what's really wonderful at the heart of all of their instruments. So look, should you buy these samples? Well, that's entirely up to you. I always think that software, and particularly software instruments, it's a good investment. You never know exactly when you're going to need that particular sound or that particular texture, but even if you don't use it straight away, you've always got it again. And it might just be the perfect thing that fits for something that you're working on. Particularly in film score, lots of emotions, lots of different scenes, lots of different textures, time periods, storytelling techniques. You never know what sound you're going to need. These are truly fantastic instruments that I love them so much I wanted to share them with you, and I hope maybe now you see why I've been using them so much. If you've liked this video and the instruments that they've been sharing, give us a like on the old channel and consider subscribing along because I do want to release a little bit more of what I use and some of my favorite sounds, some of my favorite gear and all that sort of stuff. Stuff that I personally use and just want to share with you. No corporate overlords telling me what to do. It's just me sharing it because I love it. And I do tend to buy a lot of it. I've got to be frank about that. But otherwise, until I see you in that next video, I will catch you later.